indoor gardening with tropicals and foliage plants is more than just a passing trend. It's become a lifestyle choice for millennials and consumers of all ages. The current indoor gardening trends are exploding, with everything used from blooming potted plants to succulents to herbs and vegetables. Quotes Heather Matravina in her article, Bringing the Garden Indoors. The popularity of indoor vegetable gardening has grown over the past few years, specifically to the COVID pandemic. Due to that time and past decades, society has looked deeper into growing more sustainable food products. During my informative speech, I will explain the basic supplies and costs needed for a vegetable garden, how to plant an indoor vegetable garden, and what it takes and the time it takes to grow and harvest your vegetables. I went too far. Quote, you can use any kind of container for your indoor garden as long as it has holes in the bottom for good drainage and enough room for the roots of whatever you're going to grow. Joanna Ponkovich states in her article, Indoor Edibles, containers and pots with holes in the bottom helps promote water drainage so the plants don't drown. It also gives the roots and plants enough room to expand. You may use fertilizer in your garden if you choose. It gives plants a boost of nutrients, but, quote, too much fertilizer produces a kind of soft, succulent growth you don't want. Speakers Doc and Katie Abraham spoke in Ponkovich's article. If a person chooses to use fertilizer on their vegetable plants and use too much, it may be harmful to the plant. Not only does a plant require drainage, it also needs to have a big enough space to accommodate what the amount a person of plants is planning to grow. Along with space, lighting is very important to a garden. When a person is trying to grow vegetables inside, it may be difficult to find a place to grow the plants due to the lack of sunlight. In this case, a person may need to buy grow lights. A plant requires at least 6 hours of sunlight every day. For example, but some plants may need more. For example, tomato plants need at least 8 hours of sunlight every day. The time of sunlight will vary depending on the type of plant a person is growing. It is crucial to check the directions. For the first few weeks of watering seeds before germination to the sprout, one must water them gently with a spray bottle. This will help the plants not to get pushed around by water. Once the sprout is big enough and the roots are more sturdy, you are able to pour water directly onto the soil. Finally, soil becomes necessary. Quote, the difference in the root systems of plants as well as the varying needs largely determines the kind of soil which is best suited for their development. Alex Laurie states in his article, Study Your Garden Soil. Quote, you can pick good potting soil at your local garden center. Enrich it by mixing 2 parts of the soil with 1 part compost for nutrients and 1 part of pumice or perlite to aerate and mix and promote drainage. Chris Weatherby quotes in her article, Grow Vegetables Indoors. Pumice is volcanic rock that is made up of tiny air bubbles to help the plants get airflow. Perlite is a mineral used in soil to help airflow and water drainage. Some potting soils have pumice and perlite in them, but they aren't necessary to plant growth. To know what supplies are necessary for indoor gardening, you also need to include budgeting. The prices of these supplies together do not necessarily come cheap, yet also not expensive. It depends on how big of the indoor garden you are planning is and what plants you are planning to grow. A person will need to include the cost of seeds, soils or soil mixes, containers in pots, and lighting depending if you need to buy a grow light or not. A.M. Verano in her article, Indoor Vegetable Gardening, Growing Vegetables and Fruits in an Apartment states, my advice is to start small and to allow your garden to grow with you. Once a person plans both the expenses and supplies, they are able to move on to the steps it takes to plant. The first step to creating an indoor garden is to plan. It is necessary to plan